Well, it's that time of year again. As we wrap up 2021, it's always nice to look back and think, hopefully next year will be better. But in terms of gaming, it's where we all look back at the games we played throughout the year and decide what was best. I played a lot of games this year, about 23, and instead of showing a list, I'm going to verbally rattle them off because maybe it'll be funny, I don't know. In 2021, I played Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, A Hat in Time, Donut County, Immortals Phoenix Rising, Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D, Hades, Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, The Legend of Zelda Link Between Worlds, Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, Crash Bandicoot The Insane Trilogy, Crash 4 It's About Time, Astro's Playroom, Spider-Man, Spider-Man Miles Morales, Uncharted Drake's Fortune, Uncharted 2 Among Thieves, Horizon Zero Dawn, and LEGO Marvel's Avengers. So yeah, a lot of games. And if you couldn't tell, only 2 of these games actually released this year, and both of them were remakes/ports of older games. So today I will be compiling my top 10 favorite games I played this year, not just games that came out this year, because there would only be 2. So let's do it. I had never played a Pikmin game prior to last year. My only real experience with the series was Olimar and Smash, my least favorite fighter in the game, and a little bit of Hey Pikmin on the 3DS. So yeah, no experience with Pikmin. I was a little put off by videos of gameplay I had seen, but after playing the demo of Pikmin 3 Deluxe, I was hooked. This game was really unlike any game I had ever played. It was incredibly fun to take down bosses and pick up as many fruits as I could, all the while making sure my Pikmin stayed corporeal. The Piklopedia was awesome, reading blurbs about each fruit or enemy from each of the captains was really fun. The story was fun, I liked Alf, I liked Brittany, I liked Charlie, nothing that grand, but the side stories with Olimar and Louie added some fun, albeit not entirely necessary extra lore. My only main complaint was that it was a really short campaign, though I do understand this, the point of Pikmin seems to be replayed to get a better score each time. This is a fantastic entry into the series, and I really hope the first 2 games make their way to Switch soon.
Guerrilla Games said, "No more! Horizon is proof that people will buy games, even if the main character is a redhead."
Horizon Zero Dawn was one of the PlayStation exclusive games I've had my eye on, and was one of the first I picked up when I finally got a PlayStation 5 back in September. And it did not disappoint. Horizon Zero Dawn is a really epic experience. You have a large world to explore, a plethora of machines to fight, and a ton of cool ways to take those machines down. This game could get pretty hard, and I saw this screen a lot. But it just made it all the more satisfying when I finally completed a mission that was causing me trouble. The world building is really interesting. I thought it was a basic fantasy game set in a fictionalized ancient world but with machines, so I was incredibly surprised when I found out through a random data point that the world of Horizon Zero Dawn was actually a post-apocalyptic United States, and it is really interesting to learn what happens to get to that point. Aloy is also a really interesting character to follow. There were times when some quests felt like a bit of a slog, but overall I really enjoyed this game.
Oh, but then you gotta stump chump, ladies and gentlemen.
Unlike another white guy with brown hair and glasses, I am certainly an RPG guy. Why I skipped out on this game in 2019 is beyond me, but Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age, Definitive Edition, and Knuckles featuring Dante from Devil May Cry in the new Funky mode is one of, if not the best JRPG I have ever played, and easily my favorite turn-based RPG. This game has perfected this style of gameplay and it shows. Exploring the world of Erdrea is really cool and the combat is super fun. Some encounters can be really difficult, but my problem was never that I was too underleveled, just that I needed to strategize and switch up my playstyle, so grinding was never a problem. I love the characters and the story, while somewhat generic, is still a good time. And the enemies? Cruel Cumber, Bongo Drongo, Platypunk, yeah, this game is awesome, and looks really good as well, especially these few video cutscenes that look stellar even on Switch. Like all RPGs, it does get repetitive, but that feeling doesn't really last long. I loved this game.
If you travel to the past, that past becomes your future, and your former present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your new future.
Get ready for 3 3D platformers in a row. Oops. I wasn't expecting much with A Hat in Time. 2021 was the first year I really started getting into indie games, but I was still skeptical. That feeling went away very quickly though. The gameplay is really well done. Hat Girl feels really good to control, especially her grappling hook. The missions are all super unique, like exploring a haunted mansion, running through a train rigged with a bomb, or destroying a haunted toilet. The different hats add some flavor, but ultimately end up feeling kinda gimmicky. There's only a few of them with very limited powers and you don't use them too often. But the thing that really stands out is this game's writing. The witty dialogue is on another level with a lot of fun gags and solid voice acting. It's just a really charming 3D experience. There's even a text-based adventure game where you can play as a corgi. Need I say more?
I wanted a PlayStation 5, but I didn't get one, did I?
Who knew one of my favorite games this year was the pre-installed tech demo for the PS5? Astro's Playroom is an absolute joy to play. It's the definition of short but sweet. 3D platformers are my favorite genre of games, so it was awesome to see that the pack and title was a 3D platformer. Astro's Playroom so far is the only game I've played to make full use of the DualSense controller. I had this sense of wonder exploring every aspect of the game that I hadn't felt in a long time. Seeing all the Sony cameos, learning the different things the DualSense could do, and collecting all these different Sony relics was a blast even for someone who had never owned a console prior. I felt nostalgic for a line of consoles I never had. This game only makes me crave something similar with Nintendo properties. Genuinely a fantastic 3D platformer.
Alright, it might be a little early to call this, but I'm calling it right now. Bowser's Fury is the game of the year.
Third 3D platformer in a row, I can explain. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury was definitely a hard sell for me. As someone who's played the Wii U game multiple times, $60 was a steep price. But honestly, after seeing what Bowser's Fury was, I was sold. Not $60 sold though, I found it for $50 on Amazon. Super Mario 3D World alone feels really different. The increased running speed changes up a lot and makes the levels a lot more fun and fast-paced. But Bowser's Fury? Man, is it a fantastic 3D Mario game. It feels like the Odyssey DLC we wanted but never got, just in 3D World's engine. It's only really a 4 to 5 hour campaign, but it's a lot more than I was expecting. The world you get to explore is pretty large, and the cat shines are really fun to collect. It's genuinely my third favorite 3D Mario adventure behind Odyssey and Galaxy. Definitely the best Wii U port to Switch, and it's not even close.
The way he leaps off of rooftops and flips backwards to face the camera before falling into a headfirst dive is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen.
Spider-Man Miles Morales is just more Spider-Man, and that is far from a bad thing. Miles Morales, though, feels different enough from the 2018 game to warrant its own game, and not just Spider-Man DLC. The gameplay is still similar, though combat has been reworked a lot, now focusing on Miles' unique powers like invisibility and venom, which changes up a ton of the gameplay. It also alleviates the blow of only having 4 gadgets, though not completely, as the 8 from the original game is sorely missed. But Miles feels so good. Web swinging in this game somehow improved from the already fantastic web swinging in the 2018 game. The story is probably the game's weakest point. I love some characters like Genki and Aaron, but damn, Finn sucks so bad. Ultimately though, this game has a lot of touching moments, specifically between either Miles and Rio or Miles and Aaron, and man, that final side quest hurts. You know which one I'm talking about. The crime system was also reworked, and the Spidey app is a pretty cool addition. And this is so awesome. I loved Miles Morales, and it is a really solid extension of the original game. Also, Bodega Cat. Yeah, 10 out of 10.
What's this? I don't know! I mean, seriously, what's with you people? I'm blind!
Is choosing 2 games for 1 spot a cop-out? Maybe, but I genuinely can't decide which Ori game I liked better. I played both Blind Forest and Will of the Wisps back-to-back and absolutely loved them. This was my first journey into Metroidvanias, and what a journey it was. Both excel in different places while being somewhat weak in others. Blind Forest absolutely mastered platforming while being a little weak in the combat portion, while Will of the Wisps mastered combat but lacked a little in platforming. But these weak points are barely weak points. I still really like the combat and platforming in Blind Forest and Will of the Wisps respectively. The story in Blind Forest is really touching, so they basically repeated it in Will of the Wisps, though with some differences. I love the world building Will of the Wisps though. Side quests and NPCs were fantastic additions. I found Blind Forest to be a lot harder than Will of the Wisps, though I can't tell if that's because Blind Forest is genuinely harder, or because I played them back to back, so I was kind of an Ori expert by Will of the Wisps. Whatever it was, I had a blast with both of these games and will definitely return in the future.
A Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any side.
Spider-Man is the game I wanted a Sony console for, and it did not disappoint. Everything from the gameplay to the story to the voice acting is fantastic. Peter feels so good to control, and Yuri Lowenthal's portrayal easily beats out all three of these guys. I was planning on making a full video about this, and I probably still will, but I was blown away. It is so interesting to see Peter's connection with Aunt May, with Doc Ock, with MJ. It's really an experience. I could swing around Manhattan all day, and the staggering number of cool-ass suits really helps. I don't know what else to say right now. I loved this game, and it's easily one of my favorite games of all time.
Your blade. It did not come deep enough.
Before we get to my favorite game this year, I want to talk about two honorable mentions that, had this list been a top 12, would have made it on. First, I played Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in 2020, and while I had some problems with it, I did enjoy my time. That being said, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is my favorite of the two. I enjoyed the story, world building, and characters so much in this game. This was my most played game of 2021, and I had a really good time with it and the additional Future Connected. I didn't enjoy everything, there was definitely some tedium in the middle, and I felt very underleveled at the end of the game, but that may have been my fault though. Overall, a fantastic RPG and a must-have on Switch.
Donkey Kong December, Donkey Kong December, Donkey Kong December, Donkey Kong December.
I've actually had Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D for years, but I was too dumb to actually get far back when I first got it, and kind of forgot about it. But after playing Tropical Freeze, a masterpiece in 2D platforming, I knew I had to go back and play this game. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. Just like Tropical Freeze, this game masters 2D platforming and makes the new Super Mario series look like it was made by my 3-year-old cousin. Both it and Tropical Freeze are on the same tier, with Tropical Freeze getting the slight edge just because it took the already stellar gameplay and level design of Returns and made it even better. The Retro Studios DK games are really fantastic and should not be slept on.
You know, I haven't been this choked up since I got a hunk of moussaka caught in my throat. Huh?
This right here is my favorite thing ever in the history of forever. I think about this every day. I think about this all night.
Oh, so this is what perfection looks like. I was hesitant to pick up Hades. I had never played a roguelike before, and the gameplay kinda looked confusing, but I got it when it was on sale in the eShop, and it's kind of my life now. I have a whole video for this game planned, so I'm not going to delve too deep into it, but it is a masterpiece, and far and away my favorite game to come out in the last 2 years. I love the incredibly addicting gameplay loop that changes with every run. The story is really engaging and it makes you want to follow through even when you get frustrated. The characters, art, and music make for a perfect atmosphere for the game, and the writing is legendary. I know we probably won't get a sequel or a DLC, but that's okay. To me, Hades is already a perfect game, and I will continually come back to it for years to come. Now, there were a bunch of other games that I played and didn't talk about here that I hope to be able to talk about in the future. But right now, these are my favorite games of 2021. Technically, this would make 3D World plus Bowser's Fury my 2021 Game of the Year, but I expect to play many more games from this year next year, so we will be having this conversation again. Let me know your favorite game of 2021, and I'll tell you why it's wrong if it's not Hades.